So Hollywood has different phases. All are created when different things evolve. For example, Westerners died when sci-fi became a thing. Sci-fi then went to spy movies. Then from spy movies, it really shifted to superheroes. Now, I feel superhero movies are losing their power and are going to be replaced by a different genre. But first, let's go over why. Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'm super excited for this episode. Alrighty, so we're going to go over the timeline of all superhero movies, like comics and stuff, and like kind of how it became a thing, which I found was actually super fascinating and interesting. Also, if you hear any noise, that's my brother listening to something in the other room. But if you haven't already, please like and subscribe, and I cannot wait to get into today's episode. So for this video, I actually did a lot of research. Most of the time I do stuff that's like more opinion-based, and I don't really have to look up a lot, but this one I wanted to get the facts and stuff because I found it very interesting. So essentially, we're just learning along together. So we're gonna go over comic books and movies timelines and kind of when they started being created and then what picked them up and what made them get famous. So superheroes, the idea of superheroes have been around since the 1920s with The Phantom, a silent film, which I've never seen. Then the 1940s were the golden age of comics because of the war. It symbolized patriotic symbols and was a beacon for hope. And that's when they created The Flash, Captain America, and Wonder Woman. And those were like the big popular ones in that era. 1978 came around, and that's when Superman was created, and that turned out to be a hit. It really shaped the genre with dual identity, superhuman powers, and moral codes. Then we move into the modern era, which was the 1980s all the way to the 2000s. Some of the famous ones from that era was Tim Burton's Batman, The Blade, and then X-Men in 2000, and that introduced a new potential for superhero stories and more mature content. So now we move into the early 2000s. 2000 X-Men proved that superhero films could be commercially successful and critically acclaimed. And some of the reasons why it kicked off was because of like the rich storytelling, complex characters and compelling themes, and the struggle against prejudice. Then in 2002, Spider-Man was created. And that became a cultural phenomenon. It set box office records, and it started spawning sequels. Then in 2008, MCU was launched with Iron Man. And then in 2012, the Avengers had multiple superheroes. And that really, okay. It was talking about that, like, the big thing that was shocking about it is they brought in a bunch of superheroes together and created the Avengers. But I'm like, didn't they already technically do that with X-Men? But yeah, I guess it was still cool. But I'm like, why was that what made it famous? Anyway, and then 2014 is when Guardians of the Galaxy came out, and it introduced more comedic themes and less mainstream characters, and it expanded the genre's appeal. Then 2018, Black Panther came out, and that one was really special because it broke barriers for a mainly black cast, and it became a culture landmark. And then 2020. Then the genre began to face challenges with declining box office returns, leading to discussions about saturation and evolving audience preferences. Now, I'm going to go over those terms because I wasn't like fully sure of what they meant when I first was looking it up and stuff. So the saturation that it's talking about is the overabundance of content. And it really caused like an overwhelming feeling, and I feel like the audience kind of was very fatigued by it because it's just too much. And then another big thing is repetitive storylines. Superhero movies are starting to feel like rom-coms, and I don't really like a lot of rom-coms because they're so repetitive, and it's like, oh, I already saw this before, it's just with different actors, kind of a thing. And I feel like that's very much what they're doing now with superhero movies. And now we have the evolving audience preferences. Changing taste, for example, is a big thing. Some people favor more character-driven stories. Some prefer original narratives. Some people prefer films that tackle social issues instead of the typical superhero formula. And there's also a desire for diversity, like cultures, experiences, and perspectives, and it's really moving us from the superhero narrative. If you want to hear me talk more about diversity and inclusion, go to my video, Why New Movies Suck, because I talk a lot about it there. And essentially I'm just saying that I think the reason why new movies are so bad is because everybody's trying to please everybody, and it's just not going to work. So with this, if you can kind of figure out the patterns, is the best part about superhero movies is the originality. So let's talk about really specific movies that came out and what differentiated each other, because I feel like a big part of it is they did something and it worked, so they're like, okay, let's replicate it. But then that causes us to be bored by the genre and feeling like we've seen it before, even if it worked again. So the ones that are bueno and no bueno is how I labeled it on my paper. Infinity War and Endgame. that was the best theater experience I think I've ever had. It was just so much fun, and I think the reason why it worked was because we kind of grew up with the characters and we had loved them for such a long time that we actually cared about them, and it was so fun to see them all interact. But then something that they almost tried to do that was Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, because they were like trying to introduce new casted versions of the character, and it didn't work because like we just didn't care. And it's like, okay, great, you guys have a new Fantastic Four characters kind of thing. But then that kind of segues to why Deadpool worked, because they brought back the original people. So, like, the original actors to play a different character. Well, like, no. The original actors to play the same character instead of recasting it, which is what they did in Multiverse of Madness. So, like, Deadpool was a good idea, but they shouldn't continue doing that again, because then it's just gonna get tiring. And we're like, oh my gosh, someone we totally did not expect to see, kind of a thing. Because, like, I remember No Way Home was such a shock for me when Andrew Garfield came on. Like, that was epic. But then they try to do it again for other movies, and I'm just like, that's kind of a one and done thing, y'all. Okay, another good movie was Black Widow. That one, because it was a good origin story, we got to find out a little bit more about the character, but it was, I think the reason why I personally liked it was because I actually cared about the character already. But then, the Marvels, or Madam Web, I started these movies and I couldn't finish them for the life of me. They're horrible. But the reasons why those don't work is just because we don't care. Like, I didn't care to figure out who this new Madam Web is, and I didn't care to watch anything more of Captain Marvel or any of those Marvel girls. The reason why I liked the first Captain Marvel movie was because she came in and we're all like, who is this? Then I was like, okay, so this is who this person is now. Because she was kind of a big key person. And I feel like she was the first, like, new person to join the main before everything blew up. Kind of a thing. It's very similar to Spider-Man. Her and Spider-Man kind of get the same vibes. Because, like, they're technically an Avenger, but they're not, like, official OG, but then they're not as new as, like, Miss Marvel or Madam Web or frickin' Hulk's, like, son. Oh, gosh. I can't anymore. They need to stop. Or She-Hulk. But, like, they're a little bit more on the original Avengers side. So essentially, I think what they need to do is they have to get us to care again. Before they're just showing us so many new faces. I'm like, I don't care anymore. The only person that I've really liked that's new, we need to see more of, is Moon Knight. That was, like, one of my favorite shows. And that was a good one because it had diversity, it had some culture things, and then it was also a really good story, and it didn't feel really like a Marvel movie. Well, it's a TV show, I guess. But yeah. And then this one, I haven't seen either of these, but based off of Google, it said Logan is a good one, and then Morbius was a bad one, because Logan, everybody really liked kind of more of the dark themes, just the darkness of it. So then they're like, oh, we'll give another somewhat morbid backstory for a superhero. And then they gave Morbius, and then that one didn't do well. And it's because Logan is someone we actually cared about before, and we don't care to meet this new guy. So yeah, essentially, they just need to stop. Like, Marvel needs to stop. I think I've said it before, and I'll say it again. They should have stopped after No Way Home, and then finished off a couple of things, like things that they left off on. Like, I think Guardians of the Galaxy was a pretty nice ending. Loki was great. Thor was a waste of my time. And a waste of Christian Bale. They should have had him be a cooler bad guy. He could have been a cool Avengers bad guy. But no, they wasted him in a Thor movie. I'm trying to think of other rubbish that came out. WandaVision was good, though. But then they try to do another with Agatha, which I'm like, I don't care. Will I still watch it? Yeah. I just haven't had time for it yet. But yeah. So I think something that needs to happen if they wanted to save this genre, or if they wanted to just, like, let it be a satisfying end, is they just need to do a one and done kind of a thing. Like, I'm excited for the Dune series to finish off, because I hope that it's just the three movies based off of the book, and then they're done. kind of thing. And no spin-offs. As much as I love Austin Butler in that movie as Feyd-Rautha. I can never say his name because it's spelled weird. As much as I love him, and as much as I would kind of like a backstory, it's just going to tire the genre, and I don't want to see that. It's the same with like some classic movies, like Ghostbusters should be done. Jurassic Park, I'm biased about. I think the third Jurassic World movie was absolute rubbish, but the other ones were actually pretty good. And then Harry Potter, oh my gosh. Twilight, oh my gosh. Fast and Furious. Whenever I make a video, I have notes, so I can kind of know what I'm, like, going to talk about, and sometimes, like, if it's super specific information, I have to, like, say it, like, lines kind of a thing, and then sometimes I just have key points, and I literally say things to yap, and it's a whole section. So here's the yapping section. First thing we're going to talk about, genre crossover potential. Because here's the thing. It's a good idea to try to, like, switch it up a little bit. You know, do a superhero movie that's kind of like horror. And they did that a little bit with The Werewolf by Night, which I haven't seen yet, but I've seen a lot of footage from it, and it actually looks really good. I kind of stopped with Marvel for a little bit, to be completely fair, but now I'm kind of getting back into it because Deadpool was such a hit. Never seen it. But it made me happy to see other people were actually appreciating it again. And then also when Robert Downey Jr. was announced to play Doom, that's when I was like, okay, hopefully they're going to wrap it all up and just say, goodbye, Kevin Feige. It's time for you to retire. And then MCU, you can start up again when you actually have an idea. And, yeah, so for Multiverse of Madness, they kind of tried that a little bit with horror, which was an interesting concept, but didn't work because it was kind of stupid and just like too much. I went to go see that movie with some of my friends from theater, like theater kids, y'all. And when I was like 15, but then everybody else was like 12 and 13. People were literally like crying. So, yeah, that one was like okay, but then it was also all over the place. But I did like the part when they were like in the tunnel and Wanda had like the blood all over her. That was fun. But other than that, I was kind of like the world's smartest man is like, he can destroy you with just like a whisper from his mouth. What mouth? Anyway, so I feel like if they can try to explore that a little bit more and really try to think about it and not do what they've done in the past for it. But like, you know, I think what they need to do is they just need to wait till they actually have a good idea. That they're like, we could actually make money off of this. Because right now it just feels like they're just making stuff because a famous person wants to be in a Marvel movie, kind of a thing. Like Madam Web. I wasn't also going to watch it because I hate that actress. Because she just kind of pisses me off. So, yeah. Another thing to yap about is they just need to make us care. Like Loki, oh my gosh, so good. But then also think of all the things that Tom Hiddleston was in before he could even lead up to Loki. So like that was something that they had to do over time. And it took a lot of time to do it. So I sound like, no, I cannot say that. Anyway. And like another thing, why was Thor crying? I've seen a lot of clips from the new Deadpool movie. And that was just the main question everybody was asking was, why was Thor crying? But it's like little things like that. And then, what was a movie I recently just watched? Where it was like, it was a newer Marvel movie. But they brought up something and I was like, I don't even care. I don't care if your family's dead. Like, I don't care if you, like, I don't care. But then, like, with Black Widow, you cared so much about her. And, like, Yelena. And it was because Black Widow cared for her. Oh my gosh. The second Black Panther movie made me sob my eyes out, though. I don't regret that one. That one was satisfying because it really honored Chadwick, and it was like a satisfying, like, this is good. That movie made me sob, actually. I had chills thinking about it. That was really good. Oh, for Doctor Strange, with like the whole thing about what's her face getting married, I also couldn't care less. Or, like, not Miss Americana. That's Taylor Swift. The girl who can, like, go to different dimensions and stuff. I don't know, I said it so southern. Dimensions. Different dimensions and stuff. Whatever her name was. I think it was America. But I didn't care about her either. I'm like, oh no, your reality's gone? Must suck. Kind of a thing. So yeah, they just need to make us care again. So, my next thing I have to yap about is, should they just die? And I don't think that either, because right now, I think the only... they're killing off all of our old favorite characters just to, like, replace them with new ones. And it's like, should they die? Or should you just leave them alone? Kind of a thing. Because that's the thing, is, like, I feel like every character is being so worn out that they'll just kill them off towards the end of it all. Which, that's life, of course. But, no. Like, I think Iron Man's death was really good. How Captain America ended everything was also very good. But Wanda dying also was sad. It's like, just don't make the movie if you don't want to do anything with Wanda after. Or who's another person that's really important that died? Oh yeah, but I feel like they're just handing off roles now. And they shouldn't. They should just kind of stop it where it is. Respectfully, I don't care really what happened after Endgame, except for Peter Parker, because he was close to Tony Stark. But that was simply just because he was close to Tony Stark. Something I was kind of half and half about was the Hawkeye TV series, because I did care about that and how they ended Black Widow with Yelena wanting to hunt him, which I thought was an interesting story. And it was nice to also see how he was reacting with Black Widow gone. But other than that, there was no other characters. Like, She-Hulk was the biggest waste of my time. I only watched it for Matt Murdock, because I'm a huge Daredevil girly. Love of my life. Ugh, he literally just came on just to be a one-night stand. I'm like, are you kidding? Ugh. So yeah, even with her, respectfully. But yeah. And the CGI is something we need to yap about too. It's getting so cheesy. I really liked how they didn't use practical effects for everything, because you can't literally get someone to fly. But they at least tried to make it look real. Now everything looks so cheap and stupid. I'm just like, because like at the end of the Doctor Strange movie, when he had like the third eye come out, I was like, what is this rubbish? And then with like She-Hulk too, I was just like, you know, like, because it's so good it looks fake in a way. But it's not that good. It's just like so crystal clear, but it's like animated at the same time. It's just no bueno. I like how they did like Thanos. I like it when they did half and half, but then I feel like recently most of their stuff has just been CGI and green screen. Like, I promise you, most of the Thor movie was just green screen. They probably didn't even have to really make any sets for that. So, which is also kind of stupid. I just don't like it like that. I feel like Guardians of the Galaxy is one of the only ones that kind of gives, like, the only one that I'll actually have grace for having a lot of CGI, because it's literally in space. On a random planet called Nowhere. Like, and like, they're always in space. But then for other stuff, when it's like, where was Thor half of that movie? The Love and Thunder movie? I just remember seeing his booty and the screaming goats. That's it. And then Jane, and then that's it. I can't with Marvel. So yeah, essentially, stop it. Get some help. Oh, and dumb characters. It's just pushing so many politics and stuff. And here's the thing. I love Agatha in the WandaVision series. But I don't care about her enough to give her a spinoff. It's probably a great series. I'm probably going to watch it, but I'll probably also be disappointed. Even WandaVision I was a little skeptical about, because I was kind of like, But everything, it just feels like they're like, oh, people really liked this character, let's give her a movie kind of thing. It's like, no, stop it. They also don't do it for the characters that we actually care to see. Like, I would love to see more of a Yelena backstory. Like, I love Yelena. But I don't want them to pair her with stupid people. Also, the thing about the Hawkeye series is I didn't really like Haley Steinfeld. How do you say her last name? I could see it, but I can't read it. I didn't really like her. I think the movie would have been just as good if it was simply just Clint trying to survive escaping Yelena. Like, they didn't have to introduce a new character. And I know it's because Jeremy Renner's like contract like expired or whatever, and they're like, okay, we need another Hawkeye. It's like, no, you don't need another Hawkeye. Get someone else with a crossbow, kind of thing. No, but please don't take that seriously. They're gonna be like, you want a crossbow? Here you go. We'll name him Hawk Ear. Anyway, or Hawk Tua. Anyway, so yeah, that's me yapping. Yeah. Oh, and the last thing we're gonna be talking about is the new genre that is gonna be replacing superhero movies that I'm kind of excited about because this is like right up my alley. And I asked Google to just summarize it in just one simple phrase: an original sci-fi fantasy, which makes me so excited because that's like my absolute favorite genre. Like, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I love fantasy, like especially Indiana Jones, which it's more like historical fiction with some levels of fantasy, especially with the aliens and all that garbage. No. And what's another thing that I like? But yeah, I love Star Wars. There's another thing I was excited for. Or Dune. Dune is gonna be great. And the reason why those are kind of coming back in, because Alien did really well. Dune is doing really well. And then another genre that's kind of coming in is independent filmmaking. And kind of breaking the laws of the basic formula for storytelling. Because don't you feel like most movies are kind of just a copy and paste? You're like, okay, I've seen this before, just with a different actor, like I've said earlier in the video. So yeah, I feel like a lot of people are now looking for more unique stories. I'm trying to think of an example like that. I personally really liked the new movie Am I Racist? It was kind of like a mockumentary style. It's like, no, because it was actually a documentary. But some parts of it were, yeah, it's very good. I really liked Am I Racist? And you guys should go see it too. I really think that movie can shape our generation. So go watch it. Doesn't matter if you're conservative or a liberal. Go watch it. And tell me how you think. I saw it twice. I loved it that much. So, and both times I laughed the exact same amount. So, it's funny. Another movie that I saw that was quirky but wasn't a good quirky was definitely Trap. But then also that kind of didn't have a formula for the story. It kind of was just a story. So people are essentially liking more things like that, where it doesn't have a franchise and it's kind of just there. So if you want to hear me talk a little bit more, though, about independent filmmaking and how we need to kind of break the basic formulas, watch next week's video that I'm going to be making. It's called We Need to Make Movies Hard to Make Again. And I'm going to explain what that means. Because now everything is just too practical and it's so repetitive and it doesn't feel creative anymore. It just feels like they kind of put it all together and then here you go. And we really need to... I'm going to start going into the video. So just watch out for it next week and subscribe if you haven't already. But anyway, my last thing I'm actually going to say is what I think needs to be done. And what I think needs to be done is Kevin Feige and the other dudes need to retire until they have another good idea. And not just like, because I think every movie that they come up with, they're like, this is a good idea. Is it though? Think really hard about it. Deadpool took 10 years to make. Let's put that much effort into every movie, because I'm sick and tired. I'm sick and tired of seeing this garbage. And it's like, you don't have to watch it. Yes, but it's still my favorite characters that I'm like seeing being ruined on screen. So. And let's let superhero movies die off. We don't need to do much more with it. And let's make way for fantasy sci-fi, which is going to be freaking awesome. Anyway, so I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for joining today. One little last disclaimer. I have not been too happy with reading my comments recently because some of you guys are sickos. And I would say a different word if there wasn't so many small children watching my stuff. So if you put something that is extremely inappropriate into my comment section, I will be blocking you on all my platforms. So thanks for that. Y'all make me want to puke. So anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Essentially, don't comment something unless it's nice. kind of thing. And if you don't want your mama seeing that, if you wouldn't say it to your mama, don't say it to me. And if you would say it to your mama, you have issues. Anyway, so I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.